Hey there, welcome to week 8. We skipped a week in Moodle because last week you were working on your essays. So this week we are starting with the Romantics, and this is where we begin to read fiction. This is where fiction really gets started with American literature. This is a period known as the American Renaissance, which is really at its peak in the 1850s. And we're going to begin starting with the Romantic period, which really goes until the Civil War. And we're going to begin with Washington Irving, which I think is really fitting because we're about to start October. So if you look at Moodle with me, there is a lot to do, and I wanted to review that with you. The video that I'm making right now is going to go here, and I've kind of tried to make this a step-by-step process because there is so much. So start here by watching the video, and then next you're going to learn about Romanticism and Washington Irving, who's considered like the first Romantic writer. Very quickly, the writing diverges very quickly into naturalism, dark romantics, and then from there modernism. So the main Romantic writer is Washington Irving. So we're going to look at Rip Van Winkle and The Legend of Sleepy Hollow, both stories that you're probably familiar with but have never read. So here, there's a PowerPoint presentation here that I'm asking you to open, and you need to open it with the view that you can read the notes, so you can see the slides and you can see the notes underneath. They're in the sidebar. Make sure that you adjust your presentation so that it can look that way, because there are notes in there. This will give you what the characteristics of Romanticism are. Romantic does not mean like love story. It had a just different meaning in the 1850s. So after you have looked at the PowerPoint and then you've watched this brief biography of Washington Irving, this is at that study.com, which shows you, like 2 minutes of a video and then it stops abruptly. That's because there's a paid subscription for it, but I think the first parts of the videos are really good, so I like to use those even though I can't watch the whole video. Next, there's some reading. I've made a sampler of Romantic poetry that I want you to read, and there's some questions that go with that because I'm really trying to get you to see what the characteristics of Romanticism are and then apply them to some of the things that you're reading. You'll get a sense that this is different. Once you kind of know what the characteristics are, you'll see how this is different from other things that you will be reading later on. So read this Romantic sampler, and then there are some questions that go with it. There's a section in the Norton Anthology on American literary nationalism. And nationalism is like pride in your own country. So this is when American literature, there are a lot of people saying we really ought to have our own literature. We should not be copying the English. And then there's this biography of Washington Irving, and I'm asking you to read Rip Van Winkle. Then there's a video. This is the Romanticism sampler. This is actually the document that you're going to access to do the reading that's up here. And then I have a video that I made walking you through that because this is an activity that if this were face-to-face class, we would probably be doing it together in class. And so I've kind of gone through the lecture here of how I would have walked you through that if we had been in a face-to-face class. Then I have a video adaptation of The Legend of Sleepy Hollow. But what I liked about this one is that it uses a lot of the language that has been excerpted from the story. The story itself is really long. If you think Rip Van Winkle is hard to read, The Legend of Sleepy Hollow is too. And it's a shame because it's the one that's spookier, but it's a long read. So this video is 20 minutes. I'd like you to watch it and listen to the narration. It's very accurate to the story. And then after you have read Rip Van Winkle, this is another one of those study.com quick summaries that's 2 minutes long, and it's incomplete because, again, the video stops, but it will help to check your comprehension to make sure that you've got it. Finally, there are some study questions here. There are 4 main questions in a journal format for you to answer regarding The Legend of Sleepy Hollow. All right, and I'm still in Remind if you need to text me questions, and you can also reach me by email. Take care.